They shoot the shit. They shoot the shit. Shoot, 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 shit, shit, shit. Shooting the shit with Chippa.
Welcome back, everybody, to Shooting the Shit with Chippa. I have a very special guest tonight. The drinking gods couldn't be here, but Mr. Biceps himself, Jason Anarchy, the creator of Drinking Quest and many other games, including the brand new Millennial Manatees, which he's on here to talk about and promote, is with me tonight. So, before I spend a bunch of time talking about myself, Jason, say hi.
Hello, how's it going?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
Not too bad. I do talk about my biceps on Twitter a lot, and they're absolutely as good as they say they are in real life.
Yeah, I met him. He's not lying.
Yeah, we chatted at PAX East, and
Yes,
yeah,
we did.
it's a great convention. We had a good chat, and I saw you online later when I was getting a rice bowl or something.
Yes, that's right. That's the rice bowls. I had a rice bowl tonight. So I was just going back through thoughts earlier, and it came to my attention that a year ago I was in Cancun for my sister's wedding, and that was the first time I played Drinking Quest. Was today last year.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that's kind of
Yeah,
funny, right? That I have you on tonight.
Yeah, that'll make any wedding better. Absolutely.
It really did. We hung out in my cousin Molly and her boyfriend Kale had brought it, and they were like, "Oh, we just got this thing. We've been part of the Kickstarter on it. You're gonna love it. You gotta try it." And we played it for way too long and drank way too much,
Oh,
as would be expected.
I'm glad you had a good time.
But yeah, before I get into my silly thing, tell the people what you got going on now.
Yeah, I'm running a Kickstarter for a board and card game called Millennial Manatees, which depicts the millennial generation as kind of wide-eyed manatees. The tagline is "Sea cows doing their best," and it's all these kind of manatees trying to pay off their student debt. None of it's as mean as it sounds, so you have any kind of millennial humor. It always tends to be kind of hating on it, but it's we just made this weird kind of interpretation of millennials that's just kind of there and not particularly mean one way or the other. And the whole thing comes in a fanny pack, which we call a fanity pack. So that's pretty cute. And yeah, we got on Kickstarter right now, and we're me and the collaborator Zach Stafford. He does Extra Fabulous comics, so you might have seen those kind of scratchy 4-panel comics online.
Yep,
that's kind of what he's known for. But yeah, we're going to be adding some stretch goals soon. It looks like we're going to be funded sooner rather than later, so we're going to get all that planned out too.
cool. When did you officially unleash the Kickstarter?
Earlier this week, so it's still pretty fresh.
Right, and wow, so you're already going to get funded earlier than you thought. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's always nice. We made it a short Kickstarter too, so I think the whole thing goes for like 22 days or something, because it's Kickstarters are a very kind of stressful thing while they're on. It's like every waking second is like, how can I be doing my Kickstarter better? Because it's only there for so many days.
Right.
So we've been noticing this kind of shorter Kickstarter trend, and we're like, okay, well, let's give that a try, see if that works. Middles of Kickstarters tend to be a little harder, but beginnings and endings are always very exciting, and lots of people jumping on right away and then right at the last second. So shorter Kickstarter, maybe eliminating a bit of the middle is kind of nice, and then nobody burns out and it's a better campaign. Was kind of the theory. So far so good.
Oh, that's awesome. I watched the video. Was that you playing it in the video?
It
Or your
was,
collaborator?
yeah. I've been really bad at gameplay videos basically forever, since 2011 when I started, and just basically part of my business model is always just kind of being really out of touch with gaming in the first place. When I started off, all my influences were very old influences, and I played with a few kind of select group of friends, and they always let me play what I wanted to play, which is really nice in retrospect. And so when I started with games, it was like, I was just kind of making this thing that, I thought was fun. And, I wasn't up on the industry and I didn't really know what I was doing. And so the thing with videos is that I always just assumed everyone was going to read the instructions of any given game that they buy. And only like, I don't know, the last year or two has it finally gotten through my thick skull that, maybe half the people that buy a tabletop game watch a YouTube video first.
Yep.
So I was trying to learn a game with my kids, and then we watched a YouTube video, and I'm like, oh, okay, that was kind of nice. And then we watched a few of them. So they're big fans of Tom Vassell now, which is cool. And so then in my head, I'm like, okay, I need to start doing gameplay videos. Um, and then business strategy is choosing what not to do. So one thing I'm not particularly good at is video editing and all that stuff. So I posted a bunch of crappy videos first that are like me holding an iPhone, kind of trying to keep up with what's happening in the game while also playing all the players. And so maybe they're kind of endearing that way because they're so spectacularly crappy. But with this newest one, I spent $20 on a basic tripod that grabs my phone so I can set it in a fixed position to actually view the gameplay elements. So that video is nothing special. It's pretty, standard, but it's like in my head, it's a huge accomplishment because I'm like, okay, you can see what's happening. You can hear the narration, so I'm particularly proud of that generic gameplay video.
No, I liked it a lot. It sold me on the game. I can tell you
Thanks.
that. It looked like a blast. I like the, from someone that doesn't really know how this whole thing works, and that's, you know, part of the, I'm really psyched to have you on here just to talk about it because, you know, um, I this podcasting thing is new to me, let alone figuring out how to kickstart and make a game. So to see you like explaining, oh yeah, I know these are home printouts of what the game is going to look like, and when it's real, it's going to be on this type of stock and it's going to look like this, and the colors might be different. Oh, and then this counter for the money is going to be able to be flipped over and you can double up. It really helped me kind of see, okay, here's a guy that's really thought this through, but you can still pitch it on like that, like homemade kind of side and really
Yeah.
get the point across still. And
Yeah,
I
it's
thought that was great.
yeah, like during the early stages when you have different versions of the game, and any given game that you design, there should always be different versions. Never release the first thing that you came up with. But you kind of get better at making uh, good, crappy homemade versions. Like it's like you never want to make it too good because you want to be able to keep the ability to scrap everything and start over. But at the same time, when you're in the later stages and you've got a good sense of what it's basically going to be, I've been trying to make the best crappy demos that I can make. So it's like I've got sleeves now, and I've got this card stock, and I've got this stapling technique, so I don't need to like glue everything on because glue is a pain.
Yep.
And then you want cardstock that's thicker than what a printer can process, when you want like a meaty token kind of thing, because I don't know, I think that stuff matters. You want to try and replicate what the final version is going to be as best you can. Um, and then with playtesting, you can only say, like I've done a lot of playtesting with versions of games that are just like numbers, basically, and there's absolutely no flavor. There's no artwork. There's no jokes. It's just okay. Here's a really kind of dry game. Everything's numbers and economy based. I'm just trying to see if this works, and I've done enough gameplay nights with those type of games, and I secretly hate doing it, but it's very necessary. So I have very good friends that sit through a lot of that stuff. And you always want to play test with as many different people as possible. So it's like, yeah, play test with your friends, but play test with different friends as often as you can. Play test in tabletop cafes with strangers. It's try and get people to break the game because you don't want people to be too nice to you too. So it's like if you have a group of friends and they're all kind of jerks and they have no qualms about not being nice to you, that's always good. Those are good play testers. And just in the nicest way, it's like try and break the game, and then the best friends you have will not be nice to you about it. So it's a process. It's different for everybody. And there's no secret. It's just do the thing and solve the
Right.
10,000 little challenges along the way until it's done, kind of thing.
So how long has Millennial Manatees been in the creation stage before last week?
Oh yeah, yeah, well over a year.
Oh, Finn, wow.
Yeah, it's yeah, I've been going back and forth with Zach for a while, and yeah, it's nice to see people finally react to it. And because when you're designing, you're like, oh, okay, well, there's the off chance that this will fail, maybe, and it's but then you launch it and people like it right away, and it's like, okay, that's good. Um, and it's like you never know until you put it out there, and we did basically a surprise launch, which I usually do with my Kickstarters. Um, and it's not some technique. It's just, I usually just post about the last thing I put out until I'm posting about the next thing I'm putting out, sort of thing.
Right, exactly.
So yeah, it's most people with games, it's like, yeah, the right thing to probably do is, let people know in advance that it's coming out, and build an audience and stuff like that. Um, but it's like, that's just kind of how I've done it, and I'll keep doing it for the time being, probably. So it's everyone kind of makes their own way that they put games out there, I guess.
So what was the inspiration for, outside of wanting to make, fun, like, in jokes about millennials, which, being one, I think is a riot. I take less of a, at work I take offense to it because most of the elderly right-wing nut jobs are saying it to hurt. um, but a game like, my original thought when I was seeing the artwork you were posting before I saw the gameplay was, oh, this kind of reminds me of Shea Geek.
Okay, yeah, it's yeah, the millennial humor is tricky. We're really careful about that. It's like if it was like a boomer that made the game, it might be different. It's
Right, exactly.
I'm in mid-30s, so it's like I'm an elder millennial.
Same here.
So yeah, it's I feel like I have the right to make this game. But then I think the thing that'll surprise everyone is that, okay, it's the humor comes from a place of weirdness and not meanness. So it's but then because we had that theme too, it's like just the way the mechanics and the whole package kind of came about. Like it's just it. You only get something like this if you just spend a lot of time with it and just keep making changes. So it's like it's this cloth board map inside a fanny pack, and there's cards and there's fanny pack tokens.
Yep.
There's wooden manatee tokens, and there's a great big avocado toast meeple in the game, which has never been done before, to my knowledge. So very excited to get that toast token out there.
Yeah, when I saw that, I laughed out loud because it's just like that's perfect. Um, but like, being familiar with a couple of your games, the idea of drinking quest, right? Because you say, what is it? Um, was it games for the hardcore casual? Is the
Yeah, yeah.
and I, that was a perfect thing. It made complete sense the minute I opened up the box for Drinking Quest with my friends because I'm like, this is he took D&D and made it accessible. And I don't mean to crap on D&D, but there's some people that just can't
Sure.
get past the, oh my God, there's like a whole bunch of stuff. And if you don't have a good DM or
Yeah.
someone that doesn't have patience for novice players, you end up alienating, players. Whereas this game doesn't do any of that because it's like, can you roll dice? Do you like jokes?
Yeah.
The game explains the rest of itself after that, and so I've found that people that have never played D&D that I've played it with love it just as much
Oh,
as
that's great.
people that are so hard into D&D that they still get, this is kind of poking fun at me, but it's still a good D&D game. And
Yeah, yeah. It's
it,
yeah, I like to laugh at myself, and I figure, there's probably other people like me that are, have the same kind of losery tendencies and whatnot that can relate to some of these things.
well,
So
sometimes you just want to sit around in a room and get your tabletop RPG on without having to pull out a book.
yeah, yeah, putting in, the work ahead of time, like it's
Yeah.
like I love D&D, I love RPGs,
Oh,
but
me
it's like,
too.
the barrier to entry is a big one a lot of the time. So I don't know, I've heard that I've gotten some non-RPG people into RPGs because of this game, which is kind of neat.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then also some people into drinking that liked RPGs, but weren't drinking before coming of age kind of thing. So it's like, okay, that's kind of neat. That was kind of a side effect of the whole experience. So it was kind of born out of a place of, I'd get together and play RPGs with my friends, and we just drink while we were doing it, and it was like a 100% success rate. It was always a good time. Like it was.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it was kind of taking those great nights and kind of distilling that into a game was kind of the mission statement.
So with that, was there a style of game outside of the eventual obscure, very weird thing you came up with for Millennial Manatees? Was it like, oh, it was, I started with this type of idea, or was it just, from we'll start from a very unique idea and just see where it goes?
Yeah, the origin of like every game is always different. With this one, we wanted to make a Machi Koro type game.
Yep. Okay.
So I'm a big Machi Koro fan. And I'm like, okay, we got this manatees idea. This could be a thing to kind of start with. So I like I did with Dungeons and Dragons and kind of dumbing that down to its purest essence. I was like, well, maybe I'll dumb down Machi Koro. So I started with that. And I tried to make an easier Machi Koro, and then through like 7 or 8 different versions of it, now it's just this totally different beast. It's still got some elements of Machi Koro where you're like collecting coins from things that you buy basically. But now half the game is also kind of like Guess Who, where you're noticing details on cards. Like it's so basically there's 2 phases in every round. There's like a board that has some millennial businesses that you can start, like avocado merchant or podcaster or crowdfunding savant, things like that. And then the second half of every round, you just draw the top manatee card, and there's a different derpy manatee. I think there's 40 different manatees, and some of them will have this color shirt, some of them have this color haircut, some of them will be holding a fancy coffee or like a piece of modular furniture or something like that. And depending on which businesses you purchased, different customers activate different bonuses. And it's just about seeing how everything works together. And there's a bit of strategy. But I always like to describe my games as like Mario Kart, where you can be pretty good at it, but everyone's got a chance, kind of thing. So that's always what I strive for there.
That's a damn, you know, the the Mario Kart mentality is a perfect one because that's what it feels like to sit down and play the games you make. And I had never used that correlation, but it reminds me of being like 14 and booting up Mario Kart because it doesn't matter what you're doing. Everybody at the time was like, "Oh yeah, throw me a controller." No, we can all play Mario Kart. you
Yeah,
know?
absolutely. And I think it's the difference between making games for people and making games for gamers. Like, there's a lot of hardcore games out there, and that's good, and it's good that people are into them. But with my group of friends, it's like everyone likes games, just no one's that hardcore into it, or they're never hardcore into the same game.
Right.
So it's like you need things that you could, quickly start and learn. And when I started off, I'm like, okay, there's probably other people out there like that. So I don't know. When I work conventions and I have my different casual games out there. It's maybe it's the person that it's their first con. They see something that I put out that they might be into. So versus I'm totally happy when hardcore people buy my games, but it's like they're just not really the target, I guess. Um, so I don't know. Well, I guess I don't know. I'm just talking out loud here, thinking out loud. I guess the target for any game is different. Drinking Quest, it's people that have a sense of humor and like D&D. Let's go with
Yeah.
it. And then any game, it's like Millennial Manatees. It's like, okay, well, probably millennials. Um, but Newfoundland Jam is a game I came out with that had a really kind of it didn't really have a broad reach. So it's a game about making jam based in Newfoundland, Canada. So you have those kind of location based games, and I'm
Yep.
like, okay, that's kind of a thing out there. Newfoundland's known for its sense of humor, so I'm like, okay, great, I can write a really unique style of jokes for this. Yeah, so that was kind of different for me because instead of like selling that one on like a huge comedy gimmick, it's like, oh, now I have to do what every game developer does is play with people at conventions and actually play the game because it's like the other games I have. It's like people tend to hear about the comedy gimmick and they're like, oh, yes, I'll buy that. And but with this one, it's like, okay, it's a little weirder, or a little harder to sell, but it plays really well. So I've been doing more demoing and having like gameplay setups at conventions, and that's been going really well. So that was kind of me having to kind of change my model a bit, or try a new thing, and that's been a good thing. So
Oh,
I
that's
can't remember
awesome.
what the original point was, but yeah, kind of going off on a tangent there.
No, no, that's great. The original point was what was Millennial Manatees based upon, and you hit that nail on the head. So,
Right on.
Newfoundland Jam. Now I got to play that game because I my family, a large portion of both sides of my family are from Newfoundland and from
Oh, no way.
New Brunswick and from Nova Scotia.
Oh, that's
So
amazing.
me and my wife go up there a lot. That was like our first big trip we took as a couple. Or
Oh, wow.
was just she got an Aslan Debison album. You ever heard of her?
No.
So she's from Nova Scotia, like a little girl that just recorded a bunch of, traditional Nova Scotia based songs,
Mhm.
and Best Buy like had like a deal on it and she bought it, and she's like, "Oh my God, whatever this girl is singing about, I'm in love with it and I want to go." And I was like, "Well, let's go." You know,
Yeah.
I know that I have family from up here and I've never been. And so I bet you I would enjoy that game greatly.
Yeah. It's a great place to visit, and yeah, everyone's so laid back out there.
It is. It's
It,
great.
it needed to have a game. So Newfoundland Jam, you're just trying to make different kinds of jams. Some are real jams, some are silly jams. There's a raccoon mascot called the Jam Burglar that's trying to steal your jam. Um, and it's that in terms of like mechanics, like I think I'm pretty proud of that game. It's got it's I did like those simple Drinking Quest style RPGs for several years. So I had the Drinking Quest series and then a game called Haiku Warrior,
Yep,
which
I
kind of
played
played
that.
like Drinking Quest, and it's kind of the opposite of Drinking Quest at the same time. So yeah, thank you for playing Haiku Warrior. That's awesome. Yeah,
No,
that's
like I said, dude, I as soon as I played Drinking Quest, I just like I need to seek out what else this guy does because I really liked it.
yeah. So it's yeah, it's just it was fun to go kind of out of my comfort zone for mechanics a little bit. And then with Hack a Tiny Card Game, that was my last Kickstarter. That one, same thing, the Millennial Manatees. So it's like branching away from the RPG stuff, which I love and will still like to get back to, has been a pretty fun journey.
Oh, that's awesome. So have you kickstarted all your games?
No, I started off. I don't know. I just had some money saved up, and it's like I had this idea, and I'm like, well, I'll just print a run of 500 games and see what happens. And if it
Wow.
fails, I was a game designer that one time. So no, I did it, and then games like were selling online like day one. Like it was pretty weird. So I printed more runs, and then I did an Indiegogo for Drinking Quest 3 because Kickstarter wasn't in Canada yet. Uh,
Oh.
and then after that, I think I've initially kickstarted most games since then. And then some like second and third runs, like I'll just pay outright if I can. Um, but yeah, it's Kickstarter's been good. I've had some success on there, and it's really good for everybody because publishers and designers, they get a real metric of what the demand is for whatever they're putting out, so they know should I print 1,000 copies or should I print 10,000 copies, kind of thing, right?
Right, right,
Uh,
right.
yeah, that's really important. Because you don't want to have 10,000 copies of something that, oh, I guess this can't sell once it's printed, like it's too late then. So and it's good for backers because they get a better product. They often get something exclusive that they wouldn't get otherwise. I usually don't do exclusives, but I usually offer it a bit cheaper on Kickstarter.
Right.
So they usually get a deal for being a part of it in the first place. Plus it's like a fun experience to see your baby grow up, kind of thing, and then one day you get this new baby in the mail, and it's and everyone's happy. So yeah, I like doing it, and when I say it's stressful, it's stressful in the sense of am I doing enough? But it's like the backers are great, the the fanfare that you get for what you're putting out there is great, because again, like Millennial Manatees, working on it for over a year, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, people are going to like this, and they think it's cool. That's why we were doing this. So that's kind of a nice thing too.
That's awesome. Um, yeah, dude, it's so cool to hear this side of this. Is this your like main what you do? Like, you know what I mean?
Oh
Or
yeah,
do you
yeah.
have a day job and you're just running around doing this for fun? Like, what does this bring in enough where Jason Anarchy Games is what feeds Jason Anarchy, or is there?
Yeah, yeah. No, I quit my day job about a year after I came out with the first Drinking Quest.
Oh wow, okay,
So yeah, I've been doing this full time since 2012, I guess. Yeah.
that's an
Uh,
incredible success story just in and of itself.
yeah, yeah. Thanks. I don't
And
know.
I
Yeah,
mean it, dude. Not even for talking up. I'm impressed. I give you a lot of credit for being a man of your word. You told me at PAX East, oh yeah, dude, I'd love to come on your show. I got a new thing coming in July, and like made good on that. Like I'm
oh
sitting there
yeah,
going, oh yeah, yeah, sure. And I don't mean it that way. I just mean, you're,
oh sure, yeah. Well, it's
random guy you run into at a con, right?
of course, yeah. Well, that's just kind of a
So that
business
means a
thing. It's
lot.
like
That
it's
means a lot to me.
oh yeah, well, I appreciate you having me on too. And that's just kind of like a business thing. It's like just do the things that you say you're going to do, and not everybody does that. So it's
That's how I carry myself. So I
yeah,
appreciate that.
sure.
I just finalized plans. I don't know if you've seen, but I can tell you because you got something cool coming out. I am doing the first live recording of a show of mine. I'm doing a Talkbuster podcast live in Salem, Massachusetts, where the Blockbuster I worked at when I was like 17 with all my friends, met my wife there. And
Oh
it's a
wow,
panel of all the people that I worked with then. We're going to record it, film it, play movie trivia. I'm going to play the game that I'm going to play with you at the end of this is like a play test kind of thing.
cool.
In the middle of it and do Q&A. So it's like your Blockbuster crew, especially that show took off because I started doing it and then Blockbuster got back in the news again because the last few started dropping like flies. So
Oh
now I've
wow,
had the people from the last store are regular guests on my show now.
cool.
So
Yeah,
it's worked out pretty good. So this it's a big investment. I got to actually pay a venue to host it, but they're like super jazzed about it,
yeah.
and it's kind of like talking to you. It's like right place, right time. The guy who runs the venue, he's like the bartender planner. He's a theater major out of Salem State that started working here, and he goes, "Oh, dude," he goes, "I've been trying to get podcasts in here all the time. If it does well, and you wanted to make it a regular thing, as long as it brings us money, we won't charge you the next time." And
Oh
I'm like,
wow.
"No shit," and I get to keep the whole door. So
Oh, that's amazing.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm pretty happy about it. And I know where you're Ontario. Is that where you are?
Yeah. I'm just outside of Toronto.
Very cool. I was gonna say, if I had done this the standard way, I would have started with the "Where's Jason Anarchy from?" But to give me the quick thing of that, was background. Have you lived in Canada your whole life?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I don't know, I went to school for 3 years for business management at a local college and worked at a newspaper for 10 years. And then,
Nice. My
uh,
dad was a newspaper guy.
oh, cool. Yeah, so it's, I know, but, being a young guy in the newspaper industry on the logistics of the delivering the physical copies side, it didn't seem like there was going to be a lot of future there. So it's like, when I was making this game, I'm like, okay, sure, it's fun. I'm like, but maybe it's an exit strategy. And then that kind of worked. So yeah,
That's
that's
awesome.
but yeah, it's when newspapers were good. I had a lot of fun working there and everything, but there was definitely a shift in the late I don't know 20 around 2010 or so. I don't know. It hasn't been getting better, but I don't know. The last few years have been weird with having to judge whether news is real or trying to influence you in a dishonest way and things like that. So newspapers are more important than ever. I feel like it's you need to have a reputation where people can trust what you're saying, kind of thing. So just got suddenly deep there. That was unintentional.
So newspapers, and so were how long were you working on games while you were doing that? Like, was it, like a childhood dream? Was it something that one day you just decided, hey, this is something that'd be fun? Or
Yeah, yeah. It was never really. I don't, it was never a dream. Like when I was a kid, like I liked games and I kind of made my own stuff and I had fun making them, but I didn't seriously think there would be any kind of professional future in that, right? I figured, all the money's in boring stuff. Um,
yep.
and so I never really kind of had that thought. And so, but I just kept kind of designing games even as an adult. Like basically all the RPGs I would play are just, I would mod other things to fit the attention span of my group. Which is not an insult, but it's like, they just wanted to show up and play and not have to, do work around it. That was, those are the kind of games I was making. And so I guess I did it for so many years, and I had so much playtesting that I wasn't even thinking was playtesting. I think maybe I had a good sense of, things that worked and things that didn't work. And, I get really excited when I'm making a new kind of RPG ecosystem and trying to balance that and figure that out. Um, and then, I don't know, the dream just kind of popped up, and I'm like, a drinking RPG. Okay, that could be something I could make. And that was kind of where the dream started. And then it was about a year from idea to finished game for that one. But I was pretty obsessed with it. And, as I kind of get with all my games, it's, again, anything fun you have to work harder for. So, there's definitely, challenges along the way. And, things that can get you, but it's good to be able to do it. And I feel like when I went through that kind of finding myself phase that a lot of people go through, it was like, okay, well, I think my standing frame of mind is funny, maybe, so I can like maybe do something with that. So in that sense, I'm in a good place. So, but yeah, I don't know, just work for the thing you want, I guess, is the takeaway there. Um, you got to put in the hours, and doing a lot of conventions too. Like I do like 15 to 20 conventions a year. And there's something to be said for being where the people are. So you really get to know the people in the industry that way. And yeah, without even really trying, it's like you just show up and it's like, oh, hey, there's the Wizards of the Coast people, or the Penny Arcade guys, or whoever, right? It's every convention's different. There's always different people, and just showing up and being nice is the way to go. And eventually things happen if you're always in the place where the people are.
That's awesome. So you know, playing a few of your games, I've noticed like you said, the humor, there's a through line in the humor. Um, not necessarily that it's the same humor, but I'd say the same level of humor. Now, with Drinking Quest, obviously has to have a 21 plus disclaimer on it because it's a drinking game.
Sure.
Um, but it's not really a vulgar game.
No, yeah, that was
And
that was very intentional. Yeah.
yeah, and so I was gonna say you say that, make a really good point. It was very intentional. It I really liked that about it, and I was surprised at how refreshing that was because a lot of like game playing is like, okay, you take a game, you drink it, you play it with your friends, especially something like D&D. It's the way you joke around with each other that you um kind of massage into the group that you're playing with. And games like a Cards Against Humanity kind of grew out of that. Well, a lot of people would drink and play apples to apples and make apples to apples dirty. Let's just
Sure.
make that game. It's a perfect thing, simple as all hell, and it just works. But what I liked about Drinking Quest is that I don't want to use the word childish, but it's the kind of humor you'd make when you're drinking with your buddies. So it's like just like reading the card, so saith the drinking gods, and Terry. I just go,
Yeah.
that's just, I don't know why, but I spit my drink out with that because it's just like, it's so super serious. And then, oh yeah, one of them's named Terry.
Yeah, it's I
I don't
like to
know.
I like to suggest that these things in this kind of fictional drinking quest world that and never explain them. I had one of the best compliments I ever got in last time I did PAX Australia. This guy comes up to me at the booth and he's like, "Oh, hey man, I love your games." I'm like, "Oh, thanks, dude." And he's like, "I love the way you write humor. It's just there."
Yes.
And in my head, I'm like, I know exactly what you mean, even though that doesn't technically mean much on its own. But it's like, no, that was it. It's like I like to present the thing without explanation a lot of the time, and people can infer what they want. And I have the courage sometimes that not everyone's going to get the joke, but the people who do will get it more. Great courage. Yeah, that was a great word I used on myself. But no, it's like
You're
I
so
think
courageous.
well, when you're putting out like a tabletop game and one that's funny, it's like the goal is to be accessible to everyone, 99% of the time. You don't want anyone to feel excluded, and that's a perfectly viable way of looking at a game, and that's correct in most cases. But this is with Drinking Quest, it's always kind of been a bit like a nerdy in joke a little bit. It's like, okay, I'm willing to get most people will get this, and not to say you'd pick it up and not laugh at anything, but it's like it's often the joke I will make is, okay, well, the portion of people that get this will love this. And I also like to layer in jokes, so you don't need to get every joke. So there'll be like a big dumb obvious joke on the card, and then like some hidden reference to something.
Yep.
I like to have cards be funny for multiple reasons. So I secretly tried to make this the funniest game series on the market. So it's like people tend to buy it for the drinking meets RPG hook. But then, I think when you said you were surprised that it wasn't like a game with vulgar humor, I think that kind of subverted a lot of people's expectations that it actually had some tact.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what I mean. It's like outside of the fact that one of the things on the card is sexual prowess, which is just
yeah.
hilarious in and of itself.
Well,
Like it
that
doesn't
appeals.
even need to do a sexual prowess roll, and it's like on what's the card? It's like, oh, it's trying to convince a goblin that it's a beautiful woman or something, and I'm just like, this is hilarious. This is like Looney Tunes kind of joke, and I love it.
Yeah, it's for that D&D player that always just wants to sleep with everything, and then
Yes.
it's this fun world that's created where these heroes are always on adventures trying to slay a dragon, and they're all drinking together and they're sleeping with each other half the time. It's like, it's always a different kind of combination of cards every time how the story's played out. Um, and then a part of it is also the story of who drinks what that night. I find is always interesting,
Yep.
because it's like, oh, Chad, remember that time you downed 3 Guinnesses in a row, or whatever, right? It's the game actually makes a point of not chugging in a row. There's a pacing mechanism as well for people
Yes,
that aren't
there is.
familiar. I think of it as like a half drinking game. So the whole thing was born, from drinking with my friends and playing RPGs. But when I was designing the mechanics, it was kind of like the scientific formula of, okay, what is a 50% drinking game, 50% tabletop RPG? Because the mashup is pretty ridiculous. It's this big dumb genre that's hardly a game genre at all, and then this really rules intensive, numbers based, slow, kind of genre of game. And so you mix those, and it's I don't know, I'm pretty happy with what it turned into. And that's the gameplay has been pretty consistent throughout each one. I've always wanted anyone who's played one game to be able to pick up another one and just kind of start without reading the rules necessarily. So
Right.
if you can play one, you can play them all.
Oh, they're fantastic. And that's what I was going to say, that humor through line. It seems that you've kept that. It's accessible humor that can be as over the top as the players playing it want to make it.
Oh,
Instead of
yeah, I like that.
like making it, because we had some friends over, and I broke it out and wanted to play because my friend Danielle, her two daughters love D&D, and they were like, oh, but it says it's a drinking game. I go, don't worry. I said, just your drink of choice. If it's a soda, there's rules for that. It's fine. And they were dying. They thought it was hilarious. And I'm like, see, like this is, they're like, so they like, have like a D&D club at school. They're like, oh, we're totally getting this game and bringing it.
Oh no, oh no, I don't endorse that. uh,
No, they're in
yeah.
college now.
Oh, good.
Like
Okay.
they're under 21, but they're in college,
Oh, okay. Well, that's
quote
uh,
unquote. No, but
uh,
they
Haiku
want,
Warrior's good for people that like that
yes,
style of
they
game.
want to bring it and not drink. These are pretty straight
Sure,
laced
sure.
kids. That was what she's like. Oh, I can't play it. I'm not 21, and I'm like, no. You have to. You're gonna laugh. And I said, look, it says it right in the instruction manual. If you're not a drinker, these are the rules you play by. It's like, all right, cool.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely wanted to make it accessible to people that were driving and things like that. And um, I had somebody say that they played Drinking Quest without drinking, just as a comedy game, and
Yeah.
I, yeah, I was pretty flattered. It's like, okay, wow, that's because without that having to chug your drink if your hero dies mechanic, it's like, okay, is it still fun? Because most of the playtesting I did was without drinking because you just want to see, how the games turn out, how many chugs would go per player and things
Oh
like
yeah.
that. That's how you figure out the pacing mechanisms. That's been um, most of my playtest experience trying to figure all that out. But this year at PAX East, I played. I don't know. I think I played at least one game of Drinking Quest every day, all 4 days, as part of like different events that were happening. And I've never done anything like that before. It's like I might play one game at a con once in a while. But the Kickstarter people were hosting some events, and they've been good to me, and they asked me to do it. I'm like, yeah, okay, well, sure, it'll be a fun experiment. And I wasn't drinking like a full a glass of whiskey or something with every chug or anything like that. It was pretty tame, but it was a lot of fun for me, the creator, because it's like I'll finish a game and then I just straight up don't think about it anymore. It's just I'm working on the next thing now, and it's like
Yeah.
so I'm keeping that momentum going. And so it was a lot of fun for me because it was like I hadn't thought about anything without that game except for shipping units or the unfun background stuff. And it was like, oh yeah, of course I'd make a game that I like. This is a lot of fun. So that was kind of the sentiment from that. It was a bit of self discovery. It's like I should play my games once in a while if I can.
That's awesome.
So
That's so
yeah,
cool.
thanks to the people at Kickstarter for making a fun event.
Yeah, they seem like they're really good people. That nothing but great stories you hear from people that have gone through them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's there's a lot of really good industry people. Yeah, Kickstarter people have been really good. And there's a lot of designers and developers. The question I get asked most is, is Drinking Quest like Munchkin? And and not really like I like Munchkin. I hadn't played it when I came out with the first Drinking Quest game, so it wasn't an influence. But I've gotten to know the people who work in Steve Jackson Games and like Andrew Hackard, who is the Munchkin guy, and they're all really good people. And just working conventions and seeing all these random people around. That's one of the fun things. So it's hard to do a lot of traveling sometimes, but it's I don't want to use the word family. That's kind of cliched and terrible, but really, really great acquaintances. Let's say that. Um, no, it's fun to travel to a different convention far away. Like I just did one in the UK, and it's like, oh hey, it's the same people I see at every show. This is great. I feel right at home.
That's awesome. And it kind of, the getting into this podcast thing, which I'm still new at, but I've been doing it for like 3 years. Um, you know, it seems like a community of people that just want to lift each other up. There's not like a competition going on. Like, and it seemed similar to me at the con. It's like, okay, you're all there to hawk your own stuff and you're all there to make money, of course. But, you know, there were plenty of times where I was at a booth where they'd overhear me say something to my friend about, oh yeah, we got to get to this later, and they'll go, oh yeah, no, that guy, his booth's right over there, man. We were talking to him earlier. He's awesome. You should. And it's like, instead of it being like, oh no, you want to play our game, not his. It was
Yeah,
very
yeah,
different.
absolutely.
Everybody was
Yeah,
building each other up, and
yeah.
I
People do
like
tend
that.
to support each other for sure. And there's a few bad eggs out there, but just make sure you do your internet research before you kind of do business with someone new, sort of thing. But
Yeah,
in general, yeah, it's a pretty solid industry, and the names in the industry are pretty good people.
that's awesome. So cool, man. So what I was gonna say before, because I know that you had a limited amount of time. Are you doing good on time?
Yeah. Did you want to do the movie game?
Yeah, I was gonna do that, but I wanted to give you a chance to. You mentioned him a little bit at the beginning, but the guy that did the art design on Millennial Manatees. How many times?
Yeah.
How many times have you worked with him? You said it wasn't your first collaboration, so
Oh, no, it wasn't my first collaboration with someone. It's my first collaboration with Zach. This is the first
oh,
game that
okay.
we've done. And just as a collaborator, wow, what a professional. He's awesome. And it's like writing humor professionally is really interesting because it's like the stuff that you put out is often really ridiculous. But behind the scenes, you need to do the things you say you're going to do, and just be a professional about it. And he's both those things. He's a really funny dude, and he does the things he says he's going to do. So he did all the artwork for the game, and often more than he needed to do. So yeah, he's a great dude, and his comic is really funny. So check out Extra Fabulous Comics if you're listening.
Nice. Yeah. Yes, please do. And is there outs before we get into my silly thing outside of Millennial Manatees, which do you want to pitch anything else, or please be sure to send me, when we get offline here, the links to all of these different things, so I
Yeah,
can put
absolutely.
them in the video because I'm gonna probably try to edit this and get it up as soon as possible because one, I want to help you promote your thing while it's still going on, and two, it's an honor to have you on. And I'll say that flat out.
Sure. Thank you. If you're listening, just drinkingquest.com, links to all my stuff. And then if you search Millennial Manatees on Kickstarter, that'll bring it up as well. And if you made it this far in the podcast, thanks for listening. And if you like my stuff, feel free to reach out. Let me know what you think of it.
Awesome. And your stuff is all online sales? Do you sell in stores at all?
We've got distribution in the US and a few other countries. So any local game store that doesn't have my games can get them.
Oh, that's great. This is another thing I didn't know. So look at that.
Yep.
All right. So with that, if you'll indulge me for a few seconds, I was going to do this as the icebreaker, but we got to get to know each other first instead, and it went great as far as I'm concerned. I love talking to you, dude. It was great.
Oh yeah, you as well, man. Thanks.
So I sent you both on Twitter and through the Skype thing, depending on which you have better access to, 10 movie quotes.
Okay.
These are. Did you get them?
I got them here. Yep.
Okay, cool. These were randomly picked from I think it's 350 strong list of movie quotes, and this is a game a buddy. My buddy Jim from work and we come up with movie games to play on lunch break at work, basically. And this one got a lot of legs, and so I decided to, dabble in trying to turn it into a real game. So by my time my Blockbuster live Talkbuster event happens in August, I'm going to have a home version of it printed out to play test with the room. But for now, it just exists as a spreadsheet with a random number generator in it.
Yeah.
And
that's how they all start. So that's
yep.
Good.
So you've got 10 quotes. I've got 10 quotes. And the idea of the game is it's played similar to Apples or Cards Against Humanity, except the point of this game is to take a movie quote and try to attach it to a movie it doesn't belong to, and see if you can make it funny or see if you can make it ironic or unique. And examples of this are, if someone asks if you're a god, you say yes, which is from the Ghostbusters. Yep. Passion of the Christ.
Okay.
I think we're going to need a bigger boat, which is from Jaws. Okay. Titanic. So that's the idea. So try not to use a quote from the actual movie. The idea is to make it funny and see if it can tie into another one. I've had great success playing this with people so far. It kind of devolves into, any sort of fun night of gaming where everyone's just laughing and having a good time, and the conversation turns more into other quotes that would be funny too, that they can come off the top of their heads. So we'll do it 3 round style. It's the honors system, so we're going to decide between the two of us whose was better, since we don't have more people to play with. So if you would, a number between 3 and 145, please.
109.
Okay. That is Misery, the Stephen King classic starring Kathy Bates.
Okay.
Which I think just had an anniversary. So you go first. You have to pick one quote from your 10 quotes that you think would be funny or ironic or just fit with Misery.
Can you change the quote slightly?
If you'd like to. That would make it new and unique. Let's try it.
Okay, so for Misery, get away from him, you bitch.
See, perfect, right?
Because she tortures him, and it's pretty awful.
No, you get it already.
Okay. All right.
What's the matter, boy? I bet you can squeal. I bet you can squeal like a pig. Misery. Ouch.
Oh, see, that might actually. I haven't seen that one in a while. That could actually be in there. But that's supposed to be fake, right?
Yeah, that's from Deliverance.
Really... Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's from Deliverance.
I should have watched Deliverance.
Yeah, Deliverance is the guys in. Yeah, exactly. And that scene is particularly rough. All right. So round 2, number between 3 and 145. And since you're the guest, you get to pick all the numbers because I know what they are.
19.
19. Death Wish, and not the Bruce Willis one.
Oh, okay. Good. Let's see what we have here with these quotes. An erection is a flagpole on your grave. Death Wish.
Jesus. All right. I've got, all right, you primitive screwheads, listen up. See this?
Ah.
This is my boomstick. Army of Darkness. Death Wish.
All right. I like it.
Yeah, so I think, I don't know, yours is pretty good. I think you take the last round, but I think I'm going to lean with me on this one.
I think we all win so far. This is great.
Yeah, exactly. It's just fun, right? That's the whole point. All right, one more number, my friend.
Sure. Oh, 71.
71. Spring Breakers. Oof.
Okay. All right. All right. Okay, here's mine. Bring out the Gimp. Spring Breakers.
Yeah, that. Oh, Jesus. Oh, God. Dude.
There's a spring break.
Have you seen that movie?
Pulp
Spring
Fiction?
Breakers?
No,
No,
I'm
Spring
not seeing
Breakers.
spring. I assume it's about spring break.
Oh, my God. Your quote fits it so perfectly.
Is there?
So,
Okay.
no, it's just a messed up movie. So, the Harmony Korine, I believe, the guy that wrote Kids. I don't know if you ever heard of that one. It's a really, really messed up movie from the 90s.
Okay.
He wrote and directed Spring Breakers, and he has what's his name? The guy that's in all the Seth Rogen movies. That's a real actor. No, what's he's like been nominated for Academy Awards, and I can never remember his name. He
James
played
Franco?
James Franco, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So he cast James Franco as this guy named Alien that looked like everybody's friend that worked at Hot Topic.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
it was basically his look, and these girls go and like befriend Alien, and awfulness ensues. And one of the actresses in it was that Disney princess girl, um, who was dating Justin Bieber, I think. But anyway, they intentionally told James Franco to be as off kilter and weird as he possibly could be, and would not tell her if he was acting or not. And so they got those scenes in the movie, and it was just wrong.
Wow.
Wrong.
All right.
But
I'll add that
anyway,
to the list.
yeah, it's a weird one. It's a good movie. It's depraved to the highest degree. So cannot beat you, I don't think. But I'm gonna go with That's How Much Fuck Fish. Spring Breakers. That's
Yeah,
my favorite quote from the movie adaptation.
you can have a variant of this game too, where you're trying to figure out if the quote is correct or not.
Yes, exactly. And I already had, ideas of expansion packs that, TV shows, or like do a Simpsons one, and all this stuff. So people have a lot of fun with it. So I was gonna say, probably a conversation for a different day, but any tips or tricks on the what to do's versus what not to do's of turning this into something I could kickstart would be a good conversation for another day.
Yeah. It's
Especially
yeah,
if there's rules, like of putting names of movies on there and not having their permission.
it's you want to find designers that you like, and then find their part on the internet where they give you kind of all the advice, kind of thing. That's
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
same thing for running Kickstarters and stuff like that too. I'm on a lot of panels at conventions, and I'm
Oh,
always
nice.
these other like real designers and stuff like that don't do jokey drinking RPGs, and so I hear a lot of good stuff from that. So it's like I guess there's like some value from the audience about what I'm saying, but secretly I'm up there and I'm just soaking up all that knowledge. It's great.
Nice, that's awesome. But yeah, so that's my silly game, and it just happened by irony that I started playing it on my show, and then I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna have Jason on. I bet you he'd find this kind of funny. So I have a lot of fun playing it with people. So I thank you for indulging me. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no problem. It was a nice surprise. Didn't know you were designing a game, so
Oh,
yeah,
I mean, that's
all the best with it, for sure.
it went from a pipe dream to, I played it with enough people that were like, so are you kickstarting this? I'd like to play it. People that never met me, and I go, should I do that? Like, oh, I was just doing this for fun. All right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you started in the right place then. That's good.
yeah, it's going well. So that's shooting the shit with Chippa, and I really appreciate it. Jason, do you have any closing thoughts? You want to remind people again to buy Millennial Manatees, because I'm going to buy it.
Yes. Please buy Millennial Manatees, especially if you're a millennial.
And also
And
if you're a manatee.
If you're a manatee listening, I'm very proud of you and how far you've come. And if you have a manatee credit card, please buy my manatee game.
I wonder if what happens if you don't pay your manatee credit card. I picture a manatee heavy with a baseball bat.
Yeah, the manatee police come after you. Yeah, it's an old school British manatee cop.
Now
with a nightstick and everything.
Now
And a whistle.